Hey, hey, welcome into another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Mike Cameron. We've got a very special show for you today. Gavin Sheets will be joining us a little bit later on. Gavin obviously has been integral in the Padres 8-2 start. Padres went to Chicago over the weekend, dropped the first two games of the three-game set, pulled out a very, very impressive comeback win, 8-7 in the series finale. Now they head out to Sacramento for a three-game set against the A's. Sitting here at 8-2, it's been a very, very impressive start to the season. Mike, we talked a little bit about the importance of getting off to a hot start this year when you look at this schedule. Padres opening with 13 games in 14 days, and those first 10 games come against the Braves, the Guardians, the Cubs. You knew it was going to be a gauntlet. For them to come out of that stretch 8-2 bodes really, really well for the rest of the month. Just what have you made of the Padres during this hot start? What has been the biggest thing that has stood out to you?
Just the efficiency of the offense from guys. As we introduce one of your guests, in Gavin Sheets and some guys coming through, we knew that the Tatises and the Machados and let's see, a few
Merrill.
other guys. I mean, Jackson Merrill. I mean, we know that these guys were integral in the start and them getting off to a good start. And obviously, them getting off to a good start has led to them to be at part of the top of the division, which bodes well right now because the Giants are hot, the Dodgers are playing very well. And so, with those three teams out in the West, in the NL West, it's very good for them to get off to a good start to allow themselves some space just in case some things pop up. But I'm sure they would like to continue to play good baseball as they go into this next series against the Athletics. I guess
Yeah,
it is
we can
now.
call them Sacramento. It's fine. MLB doesn't want
Okay.
to call them that. We can call them that.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's always good to get off to a good start, and I think that when you get off to a good start, it allows some of the younger players to not feel pressured. It'll also allow some of the older players to not try to do too much. So I feel like the baton has been passed around throughout the lineup, which is always good because it creates a lot of problems for the other teams when guys are passing baton and getting the job done, and they have done very well in these first series against some very good teams, and also took advantage of slow starts of some of the teams that are supposed to be some of the better teams in the NL this year.
You know,
And they played AL team also. So it's definitely good. It's definitely good for them.
yeah, the Padres right now, top 10 in the majors in both runs scored and ERA. So they're getting contributions from the lineup, they're getting contributions from the pitching staff. I think what stood out to me as the Padres got off to that 7-0 start, the best in franchise history, is the resilience. Again, get off to a 7-0 start, drop the first two games of the series at the Cubs, and going into the middle innings of yesterday's game, they were looking at a sweep. They were up 3-0 in the first inning and then lost it right away in the bottom of the first. Kyle Hart struggled with his control, wasn't able to get out of the first inning. 5-3 deficit. That became a 7-3 deficit. And the Padres just kept chipping away. Jackson Merrill had a big two-run home run. Scored another run to make it 7-6. Gavin Sheets, who will be our guest, had the game-tying RBI single. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. scoring on a Manny Machado's ground out that looked like it was going to be an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play. Justin Turner failed to catch the ball. But the Padres just kept putting pressure on. They kept chipping away. They kept putting the ball in play. They kept having good at-bats. They kept making quality contact. And we've seen throughout this 8-2 start, I've talked about it before. I'm going to talk about it again. Just the resilience. Three of their first four games against the Braves, they were trailing or tied going into the seventh inning. They won all of them. Talk about the Cubs series. Look, the first couple games were not the cleanest. We talked about the Padres were playing great all-around baseball. Those first 7 games, go on the road, and look, no one's perfect all the time. We saw all
No.
of their starting pitchers struggle with their control. Randy Vasquez and Dick Pivetta each walked runs in the early innings in their starts. Kyle Hart, as I mentioned, didn't get out of the first inning of his start. The Padres walked 23 batters in 25 innings during the series. We saw some defensive miscues, whether it was errors or just balls in play not being turned into outs that should have been. And despite it all, they managed to remain competitive. That opener against the Cubs, again, a lot of things weren't going their way. And yet you look at it, it was 3-1 in the ninth inning. They had the tying
Yeah.
run at second base. Ryan Presley just made a good pitch to get Jake Cronenworth, but they were still in that ball game. Saturday, it got away from them. Sunday, and then out again, facing a sweep, putting together a really gritty comeback. Again, this is a team that's never out of a game. And I think, too,
Yeah.
we talked about they've shown the ability to play great all around baseball, but it's also important to be able to still compete when it's not your day, when things aren't going perfectly. And the fact you're still in the ball game and the fact you're able to pull off a comeback win when a lot of things went against you. Again, walks. We saw back-to-back walks from Logan Gillespie. I mean, it was not a
Yeah.
pretty game. They still pulled it out. I think that speaks to the character and the resilience of this team and that just keeps showing up again and again.
Most definitely. I mean, when you have this type of resilience with your team, with some of the youth that they have, they also have been basically very clutch late in games, and a lot of that is due to some of the guys. Like just looking at some of Tatis's stats. I mean, he's OBP is very high. I mean, you got Jackson Merrill slugging the ball like very well. I mean, so you got guys that are doing it. I mean, obviously Manny has been the most consistent in the middle of all of this, and they play good defense also.
Yeah.
Something that we talked about early on, especially on the left side of the field, and
Yeah.
they seem to work out very well. I mean, we continue to look at this team, and we view them, and that first road trip going into the cold weather when you've been in the warm weather all the whole time,
Yeah.
that could have an impact on some of the guys getting a feel for what it's like going to Chicago in the first part of April. So the impact, for some of the pitchers, that probably had a little bit of an impact on them, but they were able to be resilient once again and stab away from getting swept, and got right back on track, and now they're right back on the West Coast in the hot weather when they go facing against the Sacramento Athletics.
FT fam, we all know in baseball as well as in life, the difference between winning and losing can be a razor's edge. And that's why when I need a high quality shave, Harry's is my go to for razors, blades, and all of my grooming needs. I don't know about you guys, but I grow facial hair extremely quickly. If I use a regular store bought razor, my 5 o'clock shadow comes out with a vengeance. With Harry's, I don't have to worry about that. I jump out of the shower, use my Harry's razor and blades, and I know I'll be looking fresh all day long. And the best part is, you don't have to break the bank. Harry's offers an incredible shave at an unbeatable value. You get a 5 blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3. That's right, $3 at harrys.com/foul. You also get customizable delivery options for scheduled refills as low as $2, half of what you pay for other brands. And it's not just razors. Harry's has you covered for deodorant, lotion, body wash, hair gel, anything and everything that you need. It's all a convenient subscription option that you can cancel at any time and a no risk trial. Don't like your shave? No worries. It's on them. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $13, but right now you can get it for just $3 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul for a $3 trial set. You know, Pulling that victory out really helps just get you on the right foot again going into the next series. And we're going to talk about that actually with Gavin Sheets, who's kind enough to join us. We're going to bring him into the show now. Gavin, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing all
Gav,
right.
how you doing? How you doing,
I'm
brother?
do I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good, 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 good.
So, Gavin, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, it's been a tremendous start to the season for you, starting with that pinch hit game tying home run in the opener, all the way through to yesterday, game tying RBI single to help the Padres come back and beat the Cubs 8-7. A lot of key RBI doubles in between then. Just really, really impressive start all around. What would you say has been the biggest key to your early season success here, particularly in the batter's box?
I think the biggest thing for me is just getting back to playing winning baseball. Putting all the individual stats to the side, putting the individual numbers and everything, and just saying how am I going to help win the game tonight? I think when you play like that, it's just the numbers take care of themselves. You're just focused on how am I going to get the job done in this at bat, and then it kind of simplifies things for you. You're just trying to get a job done. You're not trying to put up numbers. You're not trying to hit home runs or do anything like that. You're just trying to put up guys to win the ball game on that given night.
That's good. Gav, I want to ask you, man. I know we've kind of like, I played in Chicago. You've played in Chicago with the White Sox per se, and now you're in San Diego. Is it just a better feeling, you know, playing in a place? I know it's a very, big ballpark per se,
Yeah.
but to have that, you get the opportunity to now to be with the San Diego Padres. The energy is live there. They've been a playoff team for the last couple of years, and now you get a chance to enter in it in your own domain and kind of set your new template for us, what you are as a player. What's been the biggest difference in playing in a warm weather city and coming from cold Chicago, and now you're getting a chance to really kind of like let your talents really show. Although that you did show some in Chicago, but now you're getting a chance to do it with a very really good team in San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, that warm weather to start the season is a real thing. I think we all saw that as a team coming back from Wrigley right now.
Yeah.
But no, I think, playing in San Diego the last couple of years as an away fan, the one thing, or away team, is the one thing you realize is, man, this fan base is electric. That was something I was super excited for and definitely wasn't disappointed with in the opening homestand. Another thing is just knowing the star power that this team has. That was something that intrigued me all off season with when I was looking at where I wanted to go and who would be a good fit for me. And you look at this roster up and down, whether it's the bullpen, having to face the bullpen last year, the starting pitching, and then this lineup that is now locked in, the first six hitters for the next 10 years almost. And that's just something super exciting to be a part of, and knowing that. Look, I come in here and, I'm not trying to be a star player. I'm not trying to be the guy in the lineup, but instead I'm trying to add depth to this lineup to flip it right back and get it to Toddy and these guys. And, and make pitchers nights a nightmare with this lineup. So, it's just it's been a great fit so far. And but playing in front of this fan base and being in this lineup has been exactly what I was hoping it to be.
Yeah, Gavin, you mentioned it's been a great fit and all the positive vibes all the way around playing with this team in this lineup. Obviously, baseball is such a mental game, and you made some physical changes as well with your stance being a little more upright, standing a little taller. But how much of your success would you say is mental? You've mentioned before that you just feel like you're having fun again when there was a 1 or 2 year span where, you know,
Yeah.
just weren't having as much fun.
Yeah, I mean, this game is, Mike, this. It's 90% mental and the rest of it's skill and mechanics. Even yesterday, I feel like just seeing the growth I've had as a player and getting the joy back. And I mean, even yesterday, starting over 3 or 3 punch outs. This was the last 2 years. That's a long game for me. You're looking at 0 for 5 or, but just sticking in it. What I was talking about earlier, trying to win the game, getting a big hit late in the game and, flipping the script on the whole game. For me, that was a huge growth day to see. And, and credit to the guys around here and the coaching staff. Like, hey, you're going to get a big one this game. Stay in it. Like, just the confidence that's built into you and just to mentally stay in the game and say, yeah, I got 2 big at bats coming and obviously a big at bat in the 8th inning there, but just mentally staying in it and staying confident.
Very nice. You're very well put. My thing is, as we continue to talk about the hitting process that you've been into, you have a hitting coach now that was, one of my hitting coaches in my last couple of years in Boston, and Victor Rodriguez. How has he assisted you with some of the changes you made, and how can he continue to help you as you seem to becoming more of an everyday guy? So that means you're
Yeah.
facing lefties now. What kind of changes have you put in play now that's going to help you continue the success that you've had so far as we continue the season?
Yeah, the nice thing about Victor is, he keeps it simple. We're going to be, that Petco Park hitting, keep it in the middle of the field. It's a big ballpark. We're going to be gap to gap. And just keeping it simple has been great. He's not talking about mechanics. He's not talking about, hey, do this with your shoulders or do this with your hands. It's like, how are we going to stay in the middle of the field? How are we going to drive the baseball low and hard, stay in the middle of the ballpark? We're not going to, we're going to put pressure on the defense at all times. And just that simple mindset. You know how he is, just happy-go-lucky guy, just always positive. Like, you're going to match today. Like, this guy's got nothing for you. Just that stuff that's going in your mentals and then just keeping it simple. He's like, we got a swing that works for you, so we're not going to tinker. We're not going to do this. We're going to keep it gap to gap, and we're going to simplify, and we're going to do work tonight.
Yeah, Gavin, you mentioned again, just the mental and the approach aspect has been really, really key with Victor Rodriguez. You did do some work on the physical side on your own the offseason, working with your dad, Larry Sheets, of course, a longtime big league DH, first baseman, outfielder. Visibly, you've talked a lot about you changed your posture, and just looking at video from last year to this year, you can see you're standing a little more tall in the box, just a little more upright. What has that change done for you? Because just looking at the numbers, your bat speed is up. Do you feel more athletic in the stance? What has that change done for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the change of posture, getting my direction, going to center field, being more athletic in my swing, getting into my legs a little bit more. Using the ground, like you said. I think the swing speed's been up, which wasn't even a focus that we had, but it was just kind of a product of the changes we made. But yeah, getting it all my direction, going to center field, and keeping it a one piece swing, and not getting pull happy or spinning off the baseball, and just getting the motion going forward, and being athletic.
Very well. I know we talked a lot of baseball here. We talked about your swing so much. How have you adjusted enjoying San Diego? Where you living at? Like those things are important.
Yeah.
Some people like really miss out. They just think big league ball players are just these program guys or whatever it may be, and they're going and they're doing these things. But there's another part of life, to your comfort level that allows you to do that. You got like three big guys in there that are making a lot of money over there
Yeah.
in San Diego. And how have they assisted you in getting adjusted? I know you're from Maryland, so
Yeah.
you get a chance to do West Coast ball, and San Diego is part of my home. I mean, look, I was there at a Savior. So, where are you living at, man? And how's those changes going for you and your family? How has that been enjoyable for you so far?
It's been incredible. Yeah, about as far from Chicago living as you can get out here. It's I'm living in North Park, so I'm in just the family neighborhood, and about 2 blocks from all the restaurants and everything, which has been incredible. And you got the beach 10 minutes from you, and yeah, it's been awesome. And my wife and I are absolutely loving it. We've got a baby on the way in July, so we got
Wow.
a nice house to bring our little girl into, which is exciting. And no, absolutely loving the San Diego lifestyle, and just the vibes around the whole city. Great food, just people outdoors enjoying life, and no, it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely a great place. I feel very, very fortunate to have grown up there. And like you said, just the energy and the people, it really does just brighten your day. And, the other thing is, you've been embraced by this fan base very, very quickly. Again, right off the bat, you certainly did your part to ingratiate yourself with that pinch hit home run, then kept it up. After one of your doubles, again, during the Cleveland series, you had 43,000 people, chanting your name, holy Sheets, holy Sheets. What was that like for you again? Just having 40,000 people again and a weekday during the
Yeah.
school year in April, and just having that love showered on you.
Man, it was crazy. You try to be stoic on the field, and act like the fans are just noise, but that was standing on second base, just kind of looking around. That was pretty special. I haven't really had a moment like that in my big league career. I mean, some moments in the postseason in 21, but to have that, and 5 games into the season, or 4 games, whatever it was, on a Monday night, and have a sellout crowd doing that in the rain in San Diego. I mean, it was, you can't really put into words how special that was. And the way this fan base has brought me in, and just made me feel welcome, and just like the team has. So yeah, that was pretty special. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that one and be like, no, that wasn't a big deal. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Look, I don't have much more to ask you, but other than I know you coming out of Chicago, the adjustments that you've made. How has some of the guys around you? I know you and Jay Hay are different type of hitters. I mean, you have a tremendous amount of veteran leadership
Yeah.
around there. It's always good to play with guys who are very good, because you get a chance to see what they go about doing on a consistent basis over there. And I think that the one thing that you guys have is a guy that plays center field that is very young, but he's been very good so far. Like, what are some of the things that you can see and ask on the bench from a left-handed perspective that's allowed you to become, a little more comfortable in San Diego, a
Mhm.
little more comfortable with the pitching. Obviously, I saw you in spring training and you hit a couple of nukes against some of our lefties, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. he don't figure out something, man.
Yeah.
And but now the opportunity now to be able to lean on those guys and get some information from those guys.
Yeah, I mean it's been incredible. I actually just left breakfast with Jay Hay. He's been one of my guys this start to the season, and just an incredible group overall. But you're right. I mean the veteran leadership here. It would be a waste if I didn't pick anybody of these guys' brains. And I had a great conversation with Manny a couple days into spring training, just picking his brain. He just talking to him hitting, and we just sat there in the lunchroom and just talked for like 15 minutes about hitting, what his thoughts are, what his feels are. I mean, there's so many. You go up and down this lineup. There's so many great hitters that have played for a really long time and played at a really high level. Some Hall of Fame guys in this lineup, which is incredible, and everybody's kind of in their prime still, which is so cool. And just sitting in the cage and watching guys go through their routines, and not even talking to them, but just watching the way they go about their business, and what's the routine, how do they hit these pitches. That's been pretty cool to see. Just the work that these guys put in behind the scenes, and not only how great they are, but just their work ethic, and having these conversations and feeding off these guys. And yeah, it would be a waste not to pick all these guys' brains.
Gavin, I want to go back to Victor Rodriguez for a second. He was a minor league teammate of your dad's, so
Yeah.
there's some familiarity there. How much of a relationship did you have with Victor before coming over to San Diego, and how has that familiarity maybe helped smooth the transition?
Yeah, it's been huge. He's like family to me. My dad and him, he still talks about my mom cooking for both of them after games and stuff. And but when he was in Cleveland, when I was in Chicago, we would always talk, sit out there in BP and just talk. And I think he saw me at some of my best moments in the big leagues, and he saw some changes that we both didn't like in 23 and 24. So, getting back to kind of what I was doing in 21 and 22, and being able to talk about that, and the fact that he had familiarity with me and was watching up close, and got to see that. And so getting back to that, but just knowing that whatever he's bringing to me is out of love. It's just that connection, that family connection where, hey, he sees this, he wants to make these adjustments, and I know where it's coming from. I know where it's coming from in his heart, and it's like, it's so much easier to buy into that. So like the changes we made in spring training, and it's really easy to work with a guy like that, where that, hey, everything he's bringing to you is in your best interest.
Absolutely.
Good
And to
stuff.
follow
Good
up,
stuff.
your big league career, or sorry, your dad's big league career ended before you were born. So you didn't get a
Mhm.
chance to really grow up in clubhouses like some of the other players. That said, how much did, your dad's career give you access to big leaguers, and who were some of the guys maybe you picked their brains growing up as you developed into a player yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. I got to go, all day wasn't playing. I was at Camden Yards with him all the time, doing stuff. And him and Cal were extremely close. They were drafted together, roommates all the way up. And then actually, Cal's son was 2 years older than me in high school. So my dad and Cal were our high school coaches, which was a lot of fun to say the least. But, Cal's always been a huge mentor for me. Being able to pick his brain, talk to him, hit with him in the off season. There's not many better baseball minds than his. And to have him as just a resource that I can have at any time has been a blessing. And he's been great to me, and obviously my dad and him are extremely close. And so I would say that's been one of the guys that I've really leaned on throughout my career, and especially early on in my career. But yeah, my dad's been a huge support system. And I think the biggest thing is just how to handle the mentals, how to handle being a professional, handle the everyday grind. It's not as much, hey, what are my mechanics looking like, but hey, what are you thinking in this situation? How do you handle this? And so he really prepared me for just kind of the lifestyle.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Gal. Look, I obviously fall in the same category as your dad. So I try to be I guess a sounding board more so than
Yeah,
anything else,
for
because we
sure.
know that today's baseball is totally different than when your dad played, than when I played. The lingo is totally different. Um, how much of when you talk to your dad, it's about some of the new age technology things that are taking place, or is it just more of him listening to you as you give out the information of what you're seeing and what you're feeling, and how does that translate into helping you in today's time? I have a tough time sometimes when I'm talking to my kid about the game, and
Yeah.
I just want to know where his mind is more so than anything else. And obviously, I know that comes about, and we understand. I definitely understand and know how hard the game is,
Sure.
and what are some of the things that your dad is able to pass along to you that are still simple things that are probably not talked about in the game as much, but they're in the game per se. So I
Yeah.
just want to kind of get your observation from that perspective.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. It's kind of that old school,
Mhm.
new school, and I think one of the great things about the Padres and some of the success we're having is we're an old school team. We're a not strike out, put it in play, be low hard in the middle of the field, which has been really nice because I think that's a side of baseball that should never go away. And I think when it does, you start to tinker too much and you lose the goodness of baseball. And so when I was talking to my dad about some of the adjustments we were making in spring training, and the new school stuff is great, like the biomechanics stuff and the data that we have and all this information that we have, and just kind of breaking it down with him, and just kind of interest he had in all this data and these 3D scans and all this stuff that could go on. To him it's like, this is crazy to me, but just talking through some of the stuff. But then I start to tell him some of the stuff we found. And he's like, "Oh, so you do want to be swinging down? You do want your shoulders to be going down? You do?" So he's like, "Oh, so this new school stuff's really teaching you everything that I've been telling you for 28 years now."
Oh,
So he loves to throw in some stuff, but
yeah.
yeah. So it's funny, like just talking about driving my shoulder down and getting into the ground, and he's like, "Oh, so maybe I'm not too crazy. Maybe this 1980s baseball isn't too bad, is it?"
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I do the same thing today,
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah, so we,
So
we have
good.
all those conversations, which is great. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, he just understands how hard the game is. And,
Yeah.
he wants to be a sounding board for me, and just understands, the velocities that we're seeing now and all this. He watches games and he's like, this guy's throwing 98 and will only throw his fastball 2 times an inning. He's like, I just don't understand. And so
Yeah.
he gets how hard this game is and where we're at right now as a sport. But he also understands that 1980s baseball still works.
It definitely
Yeah.
does. I mean, baseball transcends. I mean, the
Yep.
simplicity of the game is the simplicity of the game still. I
Exactly.
mean, we added a lot of features to it, but it's still, you still got to get a good pitch to hit, and you got
Yep.
to get the barrel on the baseball.
Yep.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Gavin, you mentioned your dad. After his career, he became a very successful high school coach at Gilman School in Baltimore, one of the best programs in the Northeast. So not only did you just work with him, as his son, he was actually your high school coach. It's very, very natural for fathers and sons to clash a little bit in the teenage years. How was it having your dad as your coach when you're coming up as a high school?
No, it was great. A lot of people say that they're like, "Oh man, he was your coach. How'd that go?" And no, it was awesome. It was great for. I think our relationship just grew through that even more. When he took over, there was hardly even a baseball program. They were like 3-16 the year before he took over, and then his first year they were 27-5. So he really turned the program around and kind of brought like a pro style to it, just the way we practice, the way we play, and then obviously he called Cal and asked if he would coach with him for, while Ryan was still in high school, which was really cool, really special. I think for them, they had as much fun with it as we did. But yeah, just being able to play for him, and just kind of have that father son relationship, but also that coach relationship was fun. I mean, we definitely had our battles and our arguments on the field. Swing and miss at a curveball, and asked if I've ever seen one of those before. So we would always get into it a little bit, but overall it was an incredible experience for both of us.
Very well put. I mean, I understand when you have a pro style type of guy comes down, you're obviously your dad's gonna be mild mannered. He's not gonna be one of those rah 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 guys that we see on social media now. I mean, I think when you put these things in place, you put like you don't be out there for 4, 5, 6 hours. You go get the work done and you get the guys out the field,
Yeah.
and you get more out of it in that disparity.
Yeah.
My thing is, I know we talked about your dad and everything else. When are they gonna have the Gavin Sheets Holy Sheets T-shirt day in San Diego.
Oh man, I don't know. I've already seen some of them are getting made, and I'm getting tagged in all this, and it's crazy, man. I'm just I'm just playing baseball. I'll let all that stuff to the people that handle that. But no, it's been fun to see that, and just the fan base round and round has been incredible.
Have you been stopped around North Park at all? Have people started to recognize you, buy you drinks, or you and your wife drinks, anything like that?
Slowly and surely. Yeah, not many, which is nice, but every once in a while you get a kind of side eye and then say something to you, but no, that's fun. And yeah, it's just cool. Loving San Diego.
Good
Awesome.
stuff,
All right.
man.
Well,
Good stuff.
we know you got to get out of here. You got a game to play against the Sacramento A's. But thank you so much for joining us, Gavin. We really, really appreciate it. Congrats on all your success, and we look forward to watching you throughout the year.
Thanks, guys. This was a blast. Appreciate having me on.
All right. Have
Good
a good
luck.
one.
Stay healthy, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Once again, that was Gavin Sheets. Mike, I mean, as you can see, he's a very talented player who also understands the mental side of the game, has a good head on his shoulders. And look, you talked about the depth of this lineup. We knew coming into the year that Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill, all these players who are all-stars, if they stay healthy, were going to perform. The question was at the bottom of this lineup, particularly the bottom third. And again, it's a long season. We're 10 games in, but I joke this should be the Gavin Sheets podcast. I feel like we talk about Gavin Sheets every episode, but it's because he keeps
Yeah.
performing. I
Yeah.
mean, his ascendance has really transformed the outlook for this entire team and the bottom of the lineup's ability to continue producing and get it back to the top.
Definitely. I mean, as we said, you stick him in probably the middle third of the lineup, and it just extends it. With another batter of his capabilities. And obviously, look, we're talking about a guy who was a big second round draft pick out of Wake Forest. So he's known to be a part of the elite hitters in a lineup. Is just taking some time to put these things together. And obviously, we hope that continues. Obviously, it's just only 10 games, but the fact that he's gotten this off to a good start, and no, there's going to be some time there's going to be down sometimes over the course of a season, but just hopefully that he can continue to develop some consistency throughout the season, which will allow the rest of the lineup to thrive the way they're capable of doing. And it just happens that Gavin Sheets is a big part of that going into this year.
Absolutely. So with that, I kind of want to ask you a big picture question here. We're only 10 games in. It's important never to go crazy in baseball over a small sample size, good or bad.
Yeah.
Before the season, you and I both talked about we felt like this was a good Padres team that was going to be competitive, but ultimately we felt like just given the strength of the NL, maybe some of the concerns we had about the roster, they would finish just outside the NL playoff picture. Again, a good team, a competitive team, but just outside. Again, you don't want to go crazy over 10 games. That said, I do want to ask you, has anything you've seen changed your outlook for the Padres and what you think they could potentially be capable of moving forward just because they have played so well?
Well, look, I don't think anyone thought that the San Francisco Giants were going to be as good as they've been so far. But the key thing is that, outside of Darvish, in a few other pitchers, maybe like they've been very healthy so far. I think the health and the production of this team will put them right into the mix, especially if you continue to get the production, out of Sheets and continue to get the production out of Bogarts and Cronenworth, which are a very integral piece. We all just kind of know and think that Arise, Tatis, Merrill, and Machado are going to take the bulk of what's supposed to happen with this team, and they probably can get a little better defensively. But if you continue to get the offensive production out of the guys that are on the field, I think it's going to bode well for them. They seem to match up very well against teams. They're not really afraid of the Dodgers. considering that they've kind of taken them to the edge already. I think the Dodgers knows about the San Diego Padres. It's just going to be these, when you're matching up against the teams like the San Francisco Giants, how well are you going to play against them? You expect for them to play well against the Colorado Rockies. And so, with that being said, I just think that the confidence and the consistency with the production that they're getting can change the outlook of the playoffs, given that some teams are not playing very well right now in other divisions. And, with that being said, like the Braves and some other teams got off to a very slow start. So, San Diego just has a very good head start in being able to do that. Hopefully they can continue the health of the staff that they have now and guys in the bullpen, which we know somebody is going to struggle somewhere. It always happens on all teams. It's just a matter of, can the continuity of the team continue? And once again, it all starts with the guy, Mr. Electricity at the top, El Nino. So, I think that is probably one of the biggest things that the team has continued in their success. And we know a rise is coming at some point. He's going to be shooting missiles all over the place and dropping them all over the field at some particular point in time.
Yeah, and he started too. He's at 10 for his last 27, 370.
Already.
And he started out in there too. I think for me, every year we look at teams during the offseason, look at the rosters, assess strengths, weaknesses, what we think will happen, who will do well, who won't, where a team might be more complete than another. But at the end of the day, when you step between the lines, we see who teams really are. We can look at teams on paper all we want, but there are plenty of teams throughout baseball history where they look great on paper and then they step between the lines and the hitters are expanding the zone and swinging from their heels, or the pitchers aren't executing, or they're playing sloppy defense, or base runners are making boneheaded decisions, or some combination of the above. Lots of teams that look great on paper, but they don't play good baseball.
Yeah.
When you have a talented team that is playing good baseball, that's when special things happen. And I think for the Padres, what has stood out primarily those first 7 games was they played good baseball. And then even, like you said, no one is perfect every day over 162 games. It's a long season. There's going to be bad days or days where you're just not as sharp. But even on those days where you're not as sharp, you're still able to find ways to compete and grind out at bats and, come up in big moments. And at the very least, be competitive to the very end, if not pull ahead and win it. That's a good sign. So I think this relentless, aggressive baseball we are seeing from the Padres, like you said, with good health, and if they can keep that up over the course of the season, I'll own it. I'll be like, yeah, I already have had the thought, like, I was light on this team, just with the quality of baseball they're playing. I said I thought they'd be an 85 win team. 87 was kind of the cap.
Yeah.
But when you actually watch them play, how they play, the aggressiveness, the relentlessness, the attitude, if they can keep it up, I'll own it. Was like, yeah, I've already had the thought, like, I was light on them. They're playing really good baseball, and that's going to make them better than what I thought.
Yeah. The biggest thing I've seen is just the competitive at-bats that they continue to have throughout the game against you get some of those middle relievers in, and they're battling, man, and they're finding ways to score runs, in those situations, which are, can be sometimes in big league baseball games. If you're not in it by the 6th or 7th inning, then you're pretty much out because of the type of pitching that are in these bullpens now. But these guys have this mindset, as we were listening to Sheets talk about, some of the things that Vic Rodriguez is constantly putting in their mind. And he said it was refreshing, just that you can take a lousy single or two, like some of the analysts today are saying, you got to hit the long ball because it's going to take 3 hits to get, a score run and blah. But that's part of baseball, trying to put those things together.
Singles are good outcomes too. I will.
Yes.
They are good outcomes too.
Literally. And then you see the aggressive style of base running they have, which is aggressive but smart in a sense. I saw them the other day with 2 outs. Arise was on first, and it was on first, and Tatis was on third against Cleveland. the double steal, like those little things like that, where you stealing runs here and there. And if they continue to play good defense with the way the pitching staff have kind of gotten off to getting them an opportunity with these hitters, 5, 6, 7 hitters that they got, who don't just go up there slugging. You know, they're trying to bang you off a wall somewhere up the middle. They're trying to hit the ball everywhere. So, you know, it makes for tough outs. And when you put together tough outs over the entirement of alignment of a lineup, it makes it very tough for a team to beat you, especially when you're playing at home. You know, that's always a good gift to have. It's been a good home team, but this type of baseball that they play, you can take it anywhere, and it just only a matter of time before, you know, those guys start to get themselves together where they start to slug the ball also.
No question. Now the Padres head to face the A's 3 games in Sacramento. And look, the ball flies there. It's a
Oh
PCL
yeah,
park and it's low walls. And AAA stadiums are smaller than big league stadiums. I think a lot of people don't realize that the dimensions are smaller. You have lower walls. We saw the first series when the Cubs went into Oakland. I
yeah,
mean, they put on a show, piling up double-digit runs like it was nothing. The Padres have a really good chance here to go in and really pile up some runs in a hurry playing in this ballpark. And the A's pitching staff is not great. I will say the A's have a lot of good young players in their lineup. You look at Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, of course, former Padre, one of the trades AJ Preller probably would want to have back, Brent Rooker for Cam Gallagher. But even guys like Shea Langoliers, a lot of power, good defender, starting to figure out the pure hitting piece of it a little bit. Tyler Soderstrom, I've loved since I saw him at the area code games, covered him in Stockton, covered him in Las Vegas, struggled a little bit, but now he's starting to figure it out. He can really, really hit. There's, Jacob Wilson, the shortstop, Jack Wilson's kid, I think is probably going to win AL Rookie of the Year. So the A's have some really, really good hitters in this lineup, but the pitching is still a little short, especially once you get past Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs. Again, I think the Padres have a great opportunity to go in and start putting up some 10 to 12 run games here in Sacramento. And we talked about the importance of this hot start. And, those first 10 games, we talked about it before the season. That was going to be a bit of a gauntlet. The fact that 8-2, now you get 3 games against the A's and 3 games against the Rockies before you come back and face the Cubs at home. The Padres are in really good position to be 14-2, 13-3 before the Cubs come to town next week. I mean, again, they take care of business against the A's and Rockies like they should. They're going to just continue to be in a great spot, really, for the entire year. Get off to a start like 13-3, 14-2. That can make a big difference when you look up at the standings at the end of the year.
Considering I think they have enough guys where you can't really take your foot off the gas. To understand you can't take your foot off the gas. There's much respect for the Oakland, Sacramento A's athletics, and and look, you got to be respectful to the Rockies also in a sense, but you're going in with knowing that, look, we got a chance to really set ourselves up this month. Getting off to a good start of these next 2 series. I mean, when you're playing this well now, your focus is to try to win series, man. If you can focus on winning series when you're playing good baseball, then a lot of wins start to snowball when you get going like that. And it's very well much needed in this division, considering that, look, you can't worry about the Giants. You can't worry about LA because LA is going to be there. But you also know that the Giants are playing good baseball. So you got to be on your P's and Q's, and you don't want to fall too far behind in the standings. And right now, they're right in the thick of it, in the middle of it, and playing good baseball with that. So that's a good feeling going into these series. And you just try to continue that as you move forward through the season.
All right, Mike, before we wrap up, one last question. How much do you wish you'd gotten a chance to play some big league games in AAA ballpark in a PCL ballpark? That would have definitely juiced some numbers.
Man, I tell you, I didn't play in the PCL very much. I got a chance to play in Vegas a few times.
Oh yeah, ball flew there.
But that's when they had that big high wall out there and everything. Obviously, and then there used to be, when I was playing in AAA, Tucson used to be, I think, like the Astros for a little while. Also, it used to be the D-backs for a minute. Mm-hmm. But man, I would have loved to play. I would love to go to Sacramento right now for 3 days, especially in April. oh man, it's a good opportunity to get the ball up in the air as many times as you can.
Yeah, short dimensions, low walls. Again, we'll see what the Padres offense is able to do, especially coming off of scoring 8 runs against the Cubs in the finale on Sunday. Mike, this has been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see how the Padres do this upcoming week.
Always, Kyle. Very good one. Very good one today.
All right, everyone, that'll do it for another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead, give us a review, a like, subscribe. It helps us out on the algorithm, so definitely let us know if you're enjoying the show. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll be back a little bit later this week with Heath Bell. Have a good one, everybody.